This is going to be the very first time that I'm going to review something live in a corner in which I am not supposed to review anything. But you grabbed my attention. And I'm starting to see a concept in this episode of CDs that disappointed slightly. They are good, but they are not amazing. So this is basically the concept of this episode. Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of Monthly Review. This time around we are going to talk about August and September 2024 because I'm really late to these 2 months and we need to talk because there are awesome things coming from both. Seeing as we are encompassing basically 2 months, I'm going to talk about the best release in August and the best release in September. I'm not going to talk about all as I intended initially, otherwise this episode is going to be 4 hours long and you and I both know that we don't want that. First off, we are going to talk about the best of August, which is a bit controversial for me because I'm going to say the best of August, but still I think that that's not a necessarily good CD. It is Shoya Chiba's Contrail. Well, Contrail has, how should I say it, that problem with the first single released after a debut EP. It barely ever lives up to the hype created by the EP, or the debut EP, or the debut CD. At the same time, there's a problem with singles. Singles usually are more experimental, so usually the singer or the performer will think, well, I need to try some different things and do some different things to actually show different sides of me and to basically showcase my versatility and everything else. But when it comes to Shoya Chiba, he actually released Blessing in January and I instantly said this is album of the year, easily. Of course, there were other albums released since then that actually will be album of the year, but this is an amazing contender. But when we look at Contrail, the vibe is not the same. When I listened to this CD, I was not thinking this is the best. By far, it isn't. And that's because there's something that I don't like starting to happen in his music. I hope it's not that and it's just a weird gut feeling that may not come true and hopefully may not come true. But I feel that King Records is actually aiming at making him a pop rock artist with a lot of pop in the mix, more so than the rock. This is a big issue, or may become an issue, because pop rock artists, there are plenty, many of them. And pop artists, there are even more when it comes to male seiyuu artists. And if King Records keeps on insisting of him having so much pop, and only 1 or 2 rock songs, and even that, one of the songs has to be preppy, has to be upbeat, has to be more pop than rock, there's going to be a problem for Shoya Chiba, who usually likes more rock than the other music genres. Although he has a vast knowledge about music and loves a whole variety of music genres, in this case, when he writes lyrics to his songs, you will notice that he usually writes lyrics to rock songs through and through. He usually doesn't write lyrics to pop songs. But King Records keeps on insisting him having pop songs. I'm not complaining, I loved Kanjuro, and I love, in a way, Liar Game, but I feel that something is amiss, especially when we go to Steps, which is a song that feels like how should I say it, a fan song. It's not innovative. Of course, songs don't need to be innovative all the time, but it sounds really cliche, almost like any other fan song created by any other male seiyuu artist. So there's little substance in there, little details that make the song sound unique. It doesn't add much to the single itself. And when it comes to the songs released so far by Shoya Chiba, Steps is actually the weakest song by far, if we are comparing every single song released so far. But of course, not everything is bad. And even what I'm saying right now is not necessarily bad. It's things that for me are making me wary of what King Records may do to his career, more so than me disliking the songs altogether. But Steps is a song that I don't enjoy as much, and I noticed that when I was reviewing, I usually listen to the songs twice, thrice, or more times. As soon as I listened to the song for the second time, I didn't want to listen to it anymore. So it's a song that I didn't enjoy, but still, I rate it fairly high because in what the song promises to do, it delivers. So the song actually manages to create that really inspiring, upbeat vibe. It is with a really comfortable, radio-friendly pop rock sound, so it works really well. It does everything it needs to do correctly. But still, that's a personal preference. Doesn't mean that the song is bad. But the fact that when I was listening to this CD and I listened to every single song twice and thrice and I was okay with that, and when it got to Steps and I listened to it twice and I had to give up midway through, it already says that I don't like that song and something was not clicking with me. So that's more on that sense that I'm saying that I don't like the song, more so than on the composition and everything else. But still, I gave you a bit of an overview why I don't enjoy this song as much, and also why I'm a bit worried that King Records may want to turn Shoya Chiba into a pop artist more so than a pop rock artist or a rock artist. I worry about that, and the worries are starting to become a bit clearer. I hope that the next CD doesn't bring the same things in terms of the structure, which is 2 rock songs in which one of those is heavy, the other one is softer, and then a dance song in the middle. I feel that this formula will get really boring quite fast if they continue to do this like that. So I hope that they bring a bit more variety to the next CDs in terms of either the music genres or the way that the music genres that he is actually tackling right now, rock, pop, and dance, are in some way approached in a different way. So I'm hoping for that. When it comes to the CD as a whole, Shoya Chiba's Contrail is a solid CD. By far not the best. Blessing was actually quite amazing as a debut CD, and it is usually hard to say that the second CD can top the first one. Usually the first one either is amazing or downright awful, and then the second one is usually as dreadful as the first one or a bit worse in case the first one was really, really good. So there's that curse that comes with the sophomore album. In this case, this is a first single, but it is a second CD when it comes to the repertoire as a whole. So this is a sort of a sophomore pain that comes with the territory. So I was hoping for that. So in a way, I was not really surprised that there were some hiccups, but I hope that the next one can actually make up for the hiccups in this CD. And since Shoya Chiba sounded like he had found his voice, his tone, his vibe, and these music genres for Blessing, or in Blessing, I found it a bit weird that in this single it seems like he was searching for those when they were already found in the very first EP. So I don't know really what King Records actually wanted with this, and if the order of the releases may have been in the opposite way and they changed it, and now the single sounds weird because of that change in the order of the releases. I don't know. This right now is only a supposition coming from me. I don't know about that. I'm just trying to make sense of why the single sounds worse than the EP. So yeah. These were my impressions about Shoya Chiba's Contrail. I was expecting much, much more. Perhaps I raised the bar too high with Blessing, but I feel that Contrail left me wanting more and better, and I didn't get that in this CD in specific. Contrail is amazing. Layer Game is quite a fun song, and I believe that it will be played back-to-back with Kanjoron. Steps feels like a song that will be played by the end of a live show to actually hype up the public and the fans, but doesn't feel good within the CD, so there's a big problem in there. and the CD actually starts really good and the quality lowers as the CD progresses, which is something that is not ideal. You usually want to start and end strongly, and this single doesn't have that. Once again, singles are experimental, so everything I said is my personal opinion, and you may have a different opinion, and you may have actually enjoyed this single. So I hope you did, and if you did, let me know in the comments which is your favorite song. And now for the best of September, I've created extensive features about this CD. It is Soma Saito's Fictions. Wow, what an album this one is, but at the same time how controversial it may be among fans, because this album is the very first time that Soma Saito actually has a concept. The concept is extremely clear, but there isn't a story. And if you are just like me, someone that loves the fact that Soma Saito is an amazing storyteller across various songs within a CD, you will be slightly disappointed, because this CD doesn't have a story from start to finish. And I'm starting to see a concept in this episode of CDs that disappointed slightly. They are good, but they are not amazing. So this is basically the concept of this episode. Hopefully not, because I have a lot of awesome music to talk about, but it feels that these two CDs actually managed to be good, but disappoint a lot of people in the process, even if they were good. But back to Soma Saito's Fictions. I've talked extensively about how I love this CD a whole lot. Even if it doesn't have a story, which threw me off completely, because I was getting midway through the CD, I was in Kyohansha when I understood that the CD didn't have a concept. Or at least it had a concept, but didn't have a story from start to finish. The first songs actually felt good in sequence, and they felt that they had something in common, but Kyohansha actually threw me off, and then all the songs after that, they didn't fit within the album per se. They had completely different vibes, different tones, different music genres, different approaches to the vocals. The CD was a bit all over the place, starting from Kyohansha, which actually made the CD a bit harder for me to fall in love completely on a first listen. I had to give it more listens than usual to actually warm up to some of the songs that I was not warming up until then. Hiraeth is a big example of that. When I listened to the song for the very first time, I felt, well, this sounds like Carpool, but less impactful. And I was not really feeling it. But when I listened to it the second, third, and the fourth time, I understood, well, this is a song that actually summarizes the CD. And I'm now feeling the story a bit better, because I'm now paying attention to the lyrics more so than paying attention to the song. So now it made sense to me that this was the song that was leading the CD. And now I knew because how the song, or why the song was not connecting with me as better or as much as I wanted, because I wasn't making that connection between the lyrics and the concept of the CD, of nostalgia, basically the feelings underneath the CD, which are the nostalgia, the longing. But at the same time, I wasn't aware, and I had to later on read the interviews, that Soma Saito actually focused on not only the album Fictions is about fiction, storytelling, but he actually took that concept to the extreme and made sure that each song is a different fiction, a different story. So that's why there isn't a story from start to finish developing with a twist in the hidden track. This time around, the hidden track is not even a twist. It's once again for people that were expecting that twist in the hidden track. There is no twist whatsoever. While I said this is not obviously the best CD by Soma Saito, that's My Beautiful Valentine. Hands down, I believe that he actually picked in that CD. It was amazing in Bloom. He picked in My Beautiful Valentine. Then in Yang, I was a bit under the fence whether the CD was genius or it was bad. I didn't really know because the start of that CD is a bit forgetful. But when we get here to Fictions, I was expecting something in the same vein of My Beautiful Valentine or in the same vein of In Bloom. Of course, the time has passed and Soma Saito has changed as a person, and some things have changed in his life, from his outlook about life to his personal life itself. And I believe that something about those two things may have influenced the tone in this CD, because he had been mentioning how much he missed home, how much he missed his family. Then he announced he got married because he wanted to have his family together, or in some way create his own family. Then the CD is about missing his family. So there's a concept going on in here, and missing family, missing someone that you love. So that concept is really cohesive with what has happened to in his life, basically. So I feel that this CD had to happen for him to actually get everything out of his system when it comes to longing and missing people that he loves. So I believe that this may be an era, and maybe the next CD will be in the same vein of the previous ones. But then again, what I like about Soma Saito is the fact that he experiments with his music, and he wants to actually deliver unique experiences to his fans with each CD that he releases. So while this CD was sort of not a cup of tea for many people, especially some diehard fans, for me I actually found that the CD, well, it's a bit different. I may not listen to it from start to finish as much as I do with the other CDs that he released, especially My Beautiful Valentine and In Bloom. But when it comes to the quality of the mixing, the quality of the instrumentals, when it comes to the lyrics, when it comes to the micro stories that we have in this CD, the CD is still with the same quality that we love, with the same quality that we know. Ame no Niwa is an amazing example of that. Hiraeth is another example of that. Noctiluca is another example of that. And then we have those outliers, those songs that everyone was not expecting. Just like Vampire Weekend surprised everyone in Bloom. In this case, Fake Flowers surprised everyone in Fictions. So I believe that Soma Saito actually has a pattern when it comes to full-length albums. And he has said that before, that he is keen to experimenting with his full-length albums, because it doesn't feel that he can create a story from start to finish in a full-length album, but he has actually reserved experimentalism to full-length albums and conceptualism, cohesiveness in EPs, which is completely different from the way that people usually approach both types of CDs. Usually people create a CD, and the full-length CD is actually cohesive from start to finish, and the EPs are more experimental, but he does the things in a different way. I like this because it is disruptive, and I like this because he ends up creating cohesive, compact stories with the EPs, and each EP will feel like reading a book. But when we get to the CDs, you get a more traditional experience with a pop rock artist or an alternative rock artist such as him. You get a little bit of everything that he loves to do, that he wants to share, and that he wants to showcase to you. And this time around we have plenty of rock songs that will be amazing played live, next to Summerholic, for sure. Summerholic, a song that I don't like as much on CD, but I love when it comes to the live performance. And in this CD there are two songs that actually fit within that same feeling that I have about Summerholic. They don't work as better in the CD, but I feel that they will be amazing on a live setting, and I can't wait to see those being played live. So there are plenty of highlights in this CD. Once again, some people may look at this CD and think, well, a bit of the charm about Soma Saito's music is no longer there, because the charm is about how dark it can be and how we can make those dark experiences, those dark feelings, actually have a brighter outcome when it comes to the ending of the CD. This time around the CD was bright, and even if it was all about nostalgia, it still had plenty of brightness in here, and the darkness that you can get is only if you dive really deep into songs like Ame no Niwa, Noctiluca or Ventura. And even those are not necessarily dark songs. They are a bit more solemn than the others, but they are not dark. I do appreciate these, because we finally have a lot more variety when it comes to his repertoire. Soma Saito didn't have any ballads whatsoever. I've told you plenty of times that Soma Saito said in an interview that he was not really keen on creating or writing a ballad because he didn't know how to write ballads. So he was not confident about that, but something changed and he now is confident about that. We all know what changed and made him write ballads in the passionate way that he now is writing. So, and that's an amazing thing, so congrats to him, because that marriage actually ended up showing a different side of him as an artist, as a person, and that shows in his music, and that's quite the positive thing. One thing that I like about music as a whole is how it reflects the eras that the performers or the artists are going through in their lives, because most of what happens in their lives they bring to their music. Some of the songs in this CD were actually going to be in Yin Yang, but they then were brought to this CD, so there are remnants of Yin Yang in this CD. There are some touches from In Bloom in this CD. So this is a CD that brings a lot of influences while being completely new and refreshing in its approach. I like this CD a whole lot. For me, it is album of the year. A tough choice between this one and Shunichi Toki's Another Birthday, but I will say that Soma Saito actually nudges a little bit past that CD just because of the overall quality of the songwriting, because the other CD is more cohesive in terms of sound. But yeah, when it comes to the album, an album that impressed me in September, by far this is the one. I hope that you actually found that CD interesting. I know that some people were not that keen on liking this CD. They were finding it a bit harder to love. But at the same time, I feel that this is a CD that will be really easy for newcomers to actually love, because there is a lot of pop music going on in here, and even the rock music in this CD is more radio-friendly than anything that he has created before. Yin Yang was not radio-friendly, by far. It was an aggressive, violent CD. It's not welcoming. My Beautiful Valentine is not welcoming at times, but this CD felt welcoming, felt something more, I wouldn't say more human, but more, or at least closer to potential new fans. Not necessarily to please the existing ones, but to actually bring new fans to Soma Saito. I believe this will work in some capacity. Once again, I enjoyed this CD a whole lot. I've talked plenty about this CD, so I'm not going to bore you more. This CD is really good, really. I was saying how it is disruptive and some people may not like it, but if you notice, I love this CD because I start talking about it and I don't stop. So do check it. Try to see if this is your thing. If you like darker stuff, maybe this is not the CD for you. But if you like more or a brighter pop rock style, you will enjoy this CD a whole lot. There is shoegaze, dance music, pop, rock. There's a little bit of everything. It showcases how versatile Soma Saito is as an artist, and a songwriter. So I hope that you enjoy it or have enjoyed it. Let me know in the comments which song is your favorite in that CD. And if you have actually watched the features that I created about that CD here on the channel. And that's all for me about the best CDs in August and September. Let's start with August, and in August we have ML, and ML says, so I just listened to the songs from the Happy Drama CD series, and the one released this month was so good. Wonderful World by Tasuku Hatanaka and Takeaki Masuyama. It starts with just a jazzy piano and gets progressively fancier with an equally fancy performance. It feels a lot like a theatrical play too. Well, ML, I have checked some of the songs from the let's say, it was a couple of years back, of a different CD series or drama CD series from this specific group of seiyuu, 8-piece or Happy. how do you want, whatever you want to call them, and their music is really good at times. You are mentioning jazz, so you have piqued my interest. Takeaki Masuyama has a really interesting rough voice, and Tasuku Tanaka, we already know how amazing he is, so I'm curious to check this one and see what they are doing. Once again, they have really interesting lineups that they shuffle along for these CDs, and I can't wait to actually dive into these. This is something that I will not, of course, review on the channel or on the website, because it's a rather obscure type of CD and I haven't reviewed anything before, so it wouldn't make any sense to start reviewing now, but I will check it because Tasuku Tanaka is here and it is jazz music, so for sure I will be checking this one. At the same time, we have Ao, and Ao says, Soma Saito's Ame no Niwa. For you to understand, Ame no Niwa was released in August. It was a pre-release single, so Ao is actually diving a little bit into that. Soma Saito's Ame no Niwa. No spoilers because I remember they were announced to be in an album, so you won't check it out until then. But man, judging by how Sway and Ame no Niwa, it will be such a fun, that's questionable, choice of words on my side, but oh well, album to overanalyze. Looking forward to the whole album, and also people with more musical knowledge than me listening to those, because it sounds like the two singles have a very similar musical phrase in their piano arrangements, and I'm so looking forward to seeing how it gets interpreted in the bigger picture. To summarize, Soma Saito did it again. You know something, Ao? I feel that phrase that you are talking about in the piano may be similar because it is Soma Saito playing the piano, and as he said, he doesn't know how to play the piano that well, so it may be a phrase that he simply likes to play or learned how to play, and basically around that phrase he actually created various songs. It can happen, and it is a really interesting thing that happens usually when you are recording something in studio. Perhaps you record a piano part and then you feel, well, this piano part would work for a dance song, but at the same time, if I had here some dramatic drums and a guitar solo, it can work as well as a rock tune. So maybe that piano phrase has that intention, or has that coming from the background. It was created and then Soma Saito created two songs around the same phrase, or there's something more. From what I read in the interviews, he didn't mention anything about that musical phrase. So maybe someone with more classical piano knowledge would be awesome to give that feedback. Unfortunately, it's not me, so I cannot dive into that as deep as I would have wanted or would want to. But I feel that, at least coming from my side as someone who composed music in the past, I usually got into my piano, created a musical phrase, and I listened to it and I felt, well, this works well with a pop song. Maybe I will create a pop song. But then midway working through a pop song, I actually felt that, well, this would work better with guitar, so maybe it can also be in another song with a different music genre or a different vibe. So it may be that, because it may happen when you are creating music, when you are basically composing, it may happen. But at the same time, it may be something with a hidden meaning. But as we have by now, no, the CD doesn't have a story, so that phrase may not mean anything. It may be there because it happened to be there. I feel that this CD didn't need or doesn't need to be overanalyzed. There's nothing to overanalyze because the album is really clear in its concept, in its feelings, in its approach. Everything is clear, so there's not much room for interpretation when it comes to this CD, at least in my opinion. But when you wrote this, you didn't know about the full-on CD, so I still appreciate the fact that you were actually really excited, and I hope that the CD actually corresponded to your expectations, Ao. So thank you very much for participating. Now let's go to September. And in September, we also have Ao, ML, and as well Unwelcome. I'm going to choose 2 comments because otherwise it's going to be a massive mess. when it comes to analyzing things. So in this case, we have ML, and ML says, I didn't even start listening to the insane amount of music that released yesterday, the 25th, but I still have 2 songs to talk about. Trigger's Escape From Now. I love how this song progresses. It starts with slow vocals, gets progressively more dramatic with the string instrumentals, and then the chorus. Probably one of my favorite ones by Trigger. It explodes into a really catchy rhythm with powerful vocals and a quite intense instrumental, but the strings stay in the background, which makes it sound even more amazing. Crumbs About Us, I'll try not to spoil it for those waiting for the EP, I'll just say they did it again, another song that perfectly showcases all 7 vocals, this time with a bit of rap and English lyrics too. It's 5 minutes long, so every member has a lot of time to shine. So ML, you bring me 2 things that I love a whole lot. Trigger, which is let's say, it is my favorite 2D group, and Kranv, which is now one of my favorite 2D groups. So, you bring me 2 amazing things, and yeah, the 25th was really intense in September, with a lot of amazing music dropping in the same day, which was unbelievable. We hadn't had a month like that since February 2022, which was a long time ago. And this time around we have amazing songs in here to actually analyze. When it comes to Trigger, my last experience was not that good. So there's that. I'm quite excited to see what they do now for Escape From Now, seeing as the group has a sound that it is characteristic of them, and the group has improved even more on the vocal end, so I'm quite excited about that. It is Trigger, it is my favorite 2D group, so for sure I will be checking it, but I have that experience with what was released earlier this year, and I'm a bit wary about that. But since you have this kind of feedback, and from your description, this song sounds a bit in line with Crescent Rise in terms of vibe, perhaps. So I'm quite excited about it, and once again, I've been missing Trigger a whole lot. I haven't listened to any music from theirs since January, so I have a lot of theirs that I have not listened to, at least 2 songs, I should say, 2 songs. So I'm quite excited to dive into their music now that I have a little bit more free time to do so. When it comes to Kranv, I'm excited for the EP. I will leave my comments and everything else when the EP drops. I haven't been checking the digital singles because I want to experience the EP as something really new from start to finish. I know for sure that as soon as I listen to the EP, I'm going to purchase it immediately. So that's for sure. Thank you very much for your comment, ML. And then we have Ao. Ao says, for the very first time in a while, I must say someone pushed out Anthos of their rightful place of my first pick, and that someone is Toki Shunichi. Which is not really different, Ao. It's basically the same. But I feel you. His log CD is a collection of covers for anime songs, but honestly there's so much energy and individual interpretation he puts on those songs, I would not realize if he wasn't so specific about mentioning it, and if he didn't talk about original artists in the videos from his recording sessions. Plus, it's always a joy to listen or watch to Tokishun's singing stuff. He wants to sing. His smile is contagious, and now I'm suspecting this is his secret weapon causing the Tokishun's cult to grow so much. We have a small cult of Tokishun's fans here on the channel, so I can only imagine how big it is outside of this place. Though I must mention, Think of Me More from Anthos was a pretty nice release too. Roughing Laughing was fun. Well, I haven't listened to Toki Shunichi's log because it is a covers album, and I usually, to review a covers album, you have to listen to the original songs to actually review the covers, and it's a lot of work, so I usually don't review covers, and I won't be reviewing the CD because it is a cover CD, but I will be checking it because it is Shunichi Toki, and as I said earlier in the year, he's an amazing singer. I love him a whole lot, and I want to listen to more songs from him, regardless if they are covers or not. Once again, what you were saying about his smile is something that I notice when he is singing, and I'm not even watching him when he sings, because when we listen to the CDs, we are not watching him. But you can feel from the way he's performing that he is smiling, and that energy, that love, that passion that he has for performing music, for singing, is something that you always feel when he's performing, regardless if it is for a 2D group or for his solo work. Although you feel it more in his solo work. He really loves what he is doing, and I believe that he feels blessed for actually having the opportunity to sing, which is something that he loves a whole lot. And it shows in his music. Then he actually adds that massive quality that he has on the vocal end, his technique, and of course the Tokishun cult is growing and growing and growing, and I believe it will grow to a really massive point, because he's an amazing singer, so he deserves it. When it comes to Anthos, I will be talking about Anthos in a couple of minutes, so I will not talk too much about the CD, but the CD is really good, and I agree with you, Roughing Laughing is an amazing song. We will be talking about that in a couple of minutes. So thank you very much for participating. This is all about your impressions of the best CDs in August and September. Since I didn't talk about much of the music in August and September, I'm going to basically bring those to the monthly choice corner, because I have a lot to talk about, and this time around I'm going to cheat because I'm not bringing 3 songs, but I'm bringing 4, and these 4 are amazing. We will start with Jet Red Fury's World's Ending Walker. Now, this is the most cohesive CD that Jet Red Fury have released so far. I love it a whole lot, and I love it especially because seiyuu usually has the most contrived relationship with his significant other in the drama CDs, and it seems that he has solved that problem in this drama CD. I didn't listen to the drama CD, so I'm assuming things, so please correct me if you have actually listened to the drama CD, but from the way he's talking, from the way the lyrics flow and the way that the songs sound like, he actually has come forward and has started to fully trust not only himself, but his significant other and themselves as a couple, which is really important. seiyuu has trust issues since the start of the series, and throughout the CDs he actually has tried to overcome it. He has come into contact with some problems and then stopped trying to overcome those, and it is a back and forth between him and his significant other that may make some people a bit annoyed about how seiyuu approaches his personal relationships, and especially those that are more intimate. In this case, in World's Ending Walker, you have a different vibe, and especially when you get to Sentak, you understand that he actually is now really, really sweet, and he's openly saying that he loves you, his significant other, and he wants to actually make plans for both of you together, which is a massive growth when it comes to character development within the Dear Vocalist franchise. I've said it a bit in in the previous episode that I was not really happy with how Reject handled Juda's story, making him almost sound like Momochi usually does midway through the CD, which was weird and didn't fit with the character. This time around, we actually had something a bit different going on in here, and I feel that we can understand the growth that seiyuu has gone through, and that he actually is now trusting someone else and trusting himself as part of a couple, which is completely different from what he was doing up until now. This is massive growth. When it comes to the music is the heaviest that Jet Red Fury has released so far, which is amazing. For me, it is amazing. It is a treat because I love rock music. It is an even better treat because it is music created by Ron, and it is even a bigger treat because it is Natsuki Hanae singing, and is amazing. His control is otherworldly, his technique is amazing, everything about his tone is amazing, and his emotional range is once again something that grips your attention from start to finish. And here in this CD by Jet Red Fury, World's Ending Walker, you have all of that and more. And I was so excited about this CD, and thankfully the CD delivered, and this is not necessarily the best CD so far. It continues to be Joshua's, but this CD is up there in terms of quality, up there in terms of character development, and up there in terms of awesome instrumentals that sound completely new, completely refreshing, which is a massive plus. So that's my first recommendation. The second one is, of course, still within the Dear Vocalist franchise, Momochi with Tokuyaku.
Yoshi yoshi されたくて今日も働いています夜明けが遠いのはあなたがいなくて月かまる店よ包丁繁盛お日さま次第よりどり乱れない長屋感情戦場まさらですよ心までは奪われませんか
And when it comes to that secret venom, well, Momochi actually, I've said it countless times, is a maniac. Is yandere through and through, toxic as hell, not necessarily a character that you actually want to hear more of. Although Toshiki Toyonaga does an amazing job as Momochi, he really makes Momochi hateful. So you really feel it in your bones. You cannot even try to understand a character that is so toxic by default. But actually, in this CD, I had to stop everything because the vibe, the tone is completely different. Momochi, where are you? Because you are now in love, and openly soft, sweet, and gentle, which is crazy. I was not expecting a romantic song by Veronica, by far. I was not expecting that, and I got that, which is something that I was not even remotely thinking would happen, because Momochi was the character that was taking the longest to actually change his ways and start treating his significant other in a respectful way. In this case, this was his massive problem, how toxic he was about his love, his massive adoration for his significant other, but he didn't know how to externalize that, and he usually got really violent, really possessive, really dominant, and really toxic about his love, when he could have a more, or let's say a softer, a sweeter, and a more romantic approach, which he has in Daydream, the B-side track in this CD, which is unbelievably good. And not only it's unbelievably good because of the concept itself, or the lyrics themselves, or the way Toshiki Toyonaga is singing, which is softer than anything else you have listened to by Veronica, but also because it is mixing traditional Japanese music with R&B, and Toshiki Toyonaga is an amazing singer in both music genres, which leads me to say that this is quite possibly one of the best performances in the Dear Vocalist franchise, at least for Momochi. It is unbelievable how good this performance is. Tokuyaku is an amazing song. It has a sort of symphonic rock, noughties love rock vibe, which I love, which is something that is not usually done right now. because it may sound a bit dated, but it works really well once again with Veronica. And yet again, Veronica is a band that has an eclectic style, so from CD to CD you won't find the same songs, the same styles, the same genres, or the same style of performances, but you will still find their essence in there. And their traditional Japanese essence is usually there for the performances on the vocal end by Toshiyuki Toyonaga. This is one of the standout releases by far of September. Amazing CD, amazing really. I found myself replaying Daydream time and time again because still, it sounds a bit weird to listen to Momochi being romantic. I'm always thinking maybe you are plotting something. These may be some sort of weird mind games that you are playing, but actually is really romantic in this song through and through, and there are no hidden meanings in there are no mind games, nothing. It is a genuinely romantic, pure, passionate song, which is something that I was not expecting to say from Momochi. I was expecting to say this from Judah, I was expecting to say this perhaps from Ryodo, but I was not expecting these from Momochi. Which is amazing. So yeah, this is my second recommendation, Veronica's Tokuyaku. Then we have Anthos More.
僕らでいられる世界いつかまた僕らが出会える時どこにいてもどんな時もきっと愛を歌うだろう Robots 探し続けるよユートピア僕らと無限なだけ Seek out つながるあなたと肩寄せ合ってStep by step, look up like only I have must we do. Now we can touch the sky for the future.
This one, this is an unbelievable release. Perhaps I was craving music by Anthos, or in some way because of what happened to the end of Lolodi, it made me even crave their music even more. But this CD is a hit after hit. They really did it again. And I'm really happy that they actually pulled off what they pulled off with Spectacle and Roughing Laughing. Spectacle, for starters, is a trap song with a massive focus on hip-hop music. And it works really well with Daiki Hamano and Seiichiro Yamashita leading the way. They are the main rappers in this group, although Wataru Komada and Toshiki Masuda actually pitch in from time to time. They are not necessarily the rappers. This is a song really led by the two main rappers in the group, and it is amazing. Then when we bring the contrast with the leading vocals, or the main vocals in this group, you have the perfect combination. This is quite the intense song. It is really fun. It is a song that brings dubstep into the spotlight, and let me tell you, I don't like dubstep whatsoever. I tried many times to listen to dubstep when it was a trend. I didn't understand why it was a trend. The sound was too aggressive for my taste, too noisy for my taste. But the way that they incorporated dubstep in Spectacle is actually quite interesting. And it works so well within this song that I actually found myself wanting to listen to it more and more because dubstep really worked in there. Once again, the whole song is not dubstep. There are parts of it that are dubstep. So do not worry, you won't have a full-on dubstep song yet from Anthos. And hopefully, never. That's a really tough music genre to actually work with such an amazing vocal lineup. So I really feel that it makes more sense for Anthos to bring in elements from dubstep instead of having a full-on dubstep song. When it comes to the B-side track, once again, Anthos continues that tradition of their B-side track is actually better than the leading track, and Roughing Laughing was a song that really caught my attention instantly. Not only it is a song that sounds almost like the sound that the group had when they started, ethereal, dreamy, chill-out type of song, but also the things that they brought into this song like future bass. Future bass is a sub-music genre within EDM music that brings elements from trap, dubstep, and in some way house and pure electronica. And it works really well because it can be softer, it is easier to listen to, and then they brought a bit of funk to the song. And what actually stands out the most to me is how that all that works together with the vocals. The vocals. I'm already smiling about these because it is unbelievable what the main vocals in this group did in this song. They are performing the chorus in falsetto, and we are talking about Shunichi Toki, Kentito, and Shun Horie, and they are unbelievable on the vocal end. It is an ethereal performance from start to finish with a beautiful delivery. I got chills listening to it, and Roughing Laughing was supposed to be a more laid-back song, but for me, it impacted me a whole lot, and it starts with those amazing vocals. You actually need to listen to the song. You actually may have listened to a little bit of the song, but not enough to get to that amazing part. But really, do check that song, pay attention to it, because Roughing Laughing has unbelievable vocals. It is a song that, if it is not the best by Anthos, it is up there with the best songs by Anthos. For sure, I will be talking about this song when the end of the year features start, and I have to mention the best songs released by 2D groups. They keep on delivering, they keep on exceeding expectations, they keep on having that high quality that I love about Anthos, and once again their music continues to be unique, which is a massive plus. They continue to be a breath of fresh air for me, someone who is a bit tired by now of generic pop music or generic pop rock music. So they really arrive with a completely different sound. They are a breath of fresh air. They bring a lot of amazing things and an even more impressive quality on the vocal end. Roughing Laughing is my favorite song in this CD by far, but Spectacle is amazing, and you need to listen to it as well, because it is really an amazing song and well worth your time. This is the third recommendation, and the last one is Illuvista with Your Side.
初めて君を見た瞬間に僕は気づいていた到底叶わない夢を描いたっていいかな熱い思い君に届かなくても Alone その笑顔を見続けていたいもっと近くに君の隣に Stay by your side
Well, I took my sweet time to review this one. I was excited about it because it's more music from the Versus Ambivalence franchise. I love Cranv by far, and now I can say that I love Illuvista as well. I didn't enjoy as much Funfaire's single. It's not really my vibe, although their sound was rock. But Illuvista brought synthwave, which is a music genre that I love a whole lot. It's from the 80s. I listen to a lot of music from the 80s. Some of my favorite artists are synthwave artists, Depeche Mode. So to have that sound come to this franchise and be basically embraced by Illuvista, who have amazing vocals. We are talking about Chiaki Kobayashi, Makoto Furukawa, and Shintaro Asanuma. This is a lineup that works so well in this group. I was not expecting that, but the group works so well. You have a higher pitched voice, a really strong mid-tone voice, and then you have a really deep low voice, and you have covered the three main vocal tones for men with these three amazing vocals. And I'm so excited. I'm talking about this song and I want to listen to it again. I want to put pause in this video and actually dive into it and listen to it again, because the song is really good. I like how down-tempo the song is. We are usually used to songs in this franchise to have quite the high tempo, or a really comfortable mid-tempo. But in this case, this is a down-tempo song, so it isn't as exciting as people would usually perceive. But it works well with the synths, it works well with the atmospheric synth that is playing in the background, it works well with the bass line, it works even better with the voices. The soundscape around you is really cozy. The song feels like getting a really warm, cozy hug, which I love a whole lot. As a concept, it is amazing. It is quite effective in the way it is delivering that concept itself. So I like it a whole lot, and I want to listen to more by Illuvista. And good news, because Illuvista is going to release new music in 2025, so I'm quite excited about that, and I can't wait to dive into their music, because out of the two new groups in the Versus Ambivalence franchise, Illuvista, as I predicted, stole the show for me. So these were my suggestions, mostly Dear Vocalist, Anthos and Illuvista. So we are keeping the cohesion here, because I usually talk a lot about the Hanadol franchise, the Dear Vocalist franchise, and the Versus Ambivalence franchise. So we are keeping things consistent, although I have not talked about music for 3 months. So yeah, this is all from me. Let's now check your opinion. Now, when it comes to your opinions, let's check the 2 tabs that I have to be jumping to and from. In this case, we have 1, 2, let me check, because I can't bring everyone here. Well, we have 6 participations, so I'm going to shuffle things a little bit. In this case, we have ML. ML continues to be consistent as well about Happy or 8-piece. And ML says, July's 8-piece release was also really good. Kizuato ni Mondo by Arthur Lounsbury and Shoya Chiba. By far 2 amazing vocals, so it can only work good. ML continues to say, a very groovy song, but with a good share of mystery. Amazing vocals too, from the more dramatical parts to the high notes in the unison in the chorus. Once again, 8-piece are showing that you can still have a seiyuu-centric group and it can still work. Believe it or not, there aren't many 2D, there aren't many seiyuu units at the moment, active at least. Many of those have disbanded in the past couple of years, and some are connected to radio shows like this one is. In some way, this is not necessarily a radio show, it's more a Niku Niku video show, let's say. But still, it is rare right now to have seiyuu groups out there. They are getting rarer and rarer the more the time passes. And 8-piece continues to release music, which is quite impressive, seeing as they have that problem that the music is released by Nizista, and Nizista doesn't make their music available almost anywhere. And there's a big problem for people that want to acquire their music, because the music is only acquirable or purchasable on their official website, which only sells to Japan, which is another big problem. But their music is available on Ototoy. I believe at least the first CDs that they had do it. There are those CDs at Ototoy. So there's a good place for you to actually check if you haven't, in case you want to check this suggestion by ML. Once again, ML, thank you very much for your suggestion. In the other way, we have Ao, and Ao says, I'd like to recommend Umei wo Koeru Venga, and only partially because it just came out while I was filling in the survey. It's a very solid song with clear tone of fire rock, but because the theme is clearly fight against destiny, it also mixes in those somewhat fantasy vibes you'd normally expect from Growth, maybe Quell. If Hama Takeshi was feeling specially in the mood for RPG music, hello, Club the Cage. But because it's solids on top of the vision of Battlefield or some fantasy quest, you also get the feeling of a struggle for love, either as a source or of the conflict, or a reason why the hero didn't yet fall. In a way, while they're completely different, if somebody told Venga in an evolved Romeo from a storytelling point of view, I'd probably could get convinced of that. And all the fantasy battle images aside, it's just a damn good song if you need to get into the fighting mood for any reason, really. I love that I can now recommend Skip Row first season endings, knowing fully well people can listen to them legally on streaming. Well, for starters, Ao, from your description, do you actually want to work at the hand at THTFHQ? Because your review is amazing. I cannot even add much more to that because I already reviewed that song when the song dropped back in 2019, correct me if I'm wrong. And I was quite impressed about the song. Of course, Venga is one of the amazing songs that features in the first season. I believe that Solids actually managed to pull off a set of perfect songs in the first anime season, which they didn't manage to pull off in the second one, and it was impressive. Venga is especially dramatic, which is something that they usually don't have in their music. Solids is not usually a group that sounds dramatic. Drama is actually for growth. Drama is actually for quell in some capacity. This is quite the interesting approach, especially because you are approaching this from the perspective of Solids have a concept of love, attraction, seduction, and everything else that is related to that. Their sound is a bit more risque, but it's usually consistently about love. Different types of love, different approaches to love. And in this case, saying that the concept here could be that we are going on a quest because love is there, or because love is the reason why the quest hasn't ended, or why the adventurer or the knight or the hero hasn't fallen yet. It's quite the poetic way to approach this song, which is really interesting, and in some way ties up perfectly with the vibe that you get in the song. I was not approaching Venga from that perspective when I reviewed it, but then again I don't recall what I wrote in that review, but I know for sure that I didn't talk about heroes because I didn't make that connection back then. But I feel that Venga has that fighting spirit in itself. I feel that it is quite the dramatic song, more in the lines of Romeo. The story is dramatic and you want to see an outcome in here, and in here the emotions are really bubbling at their maximum, and this is what I feel with Venga, especially in the way that Natsuki Hanae performs this song, bringing those raspy notes as he is actually almost screaming the song. It's quite a different style of performance from the group as well, which is something that I appreciate a whole lot. So yeah, this is quite the amazing song, and I agree with you how now you can recommend any type of first endings or endings from the first season of Skip Row, because right now the music is available on streaming platforms, so you are legally supporting the project and making sure that it continues for a long time. So please do listen to their music legally. When it comes to what is said in the September tab, we now have a couple of suggestions. Once again, Unwelcome, ML, and Ao. Thank you very much to all three of you for sending, but right now I'm going to have to choose different things in here because otherwise we are going to talk about the same things over and over again. So now, Unwelcome mentions Jin Ogasawara's Aquarium left me utterly captivated. His performance is remarkably comfortable and assured, showcasing a song rich in detail from a jazz perspective. While the music possesses a chilling quality and delicate softness, the slow tempo draws the listener in, creating a sense of suspense that builds until the bridge. The chords in the bridge act as a breathtaking climax, both dreamy and alluring. Jin's vocal control is exceptional, and his ad-libs are superb. Having listened to all of his songs, I'm thoroughly impressed by his growth, but I'm taking my time to fully appreciate this first recommendation. Well, Unwelcome, you arrive at Jin Ogasawara's music a bit later, in the sense of he is not releasing music as of now. Still, you have a full-length CD to actually check with all the songs he released up until now, and Aquarium is among those in that series of digital singles in which he was trying a different music genre and a different style of singing for each of those entries, and it was amazing what he pulled off with that series of digital singles in that year. I still think that it is one of the best accomplished digital single series by a male seiyuu artist by far. It was really interesting to see him grow from song to song, especially if you listen to the songs chronologically. You will notice how much he is growing as an artist and how much he wants to showcase and how much quality he has that has yet to be unleashed. Unfortunately, not much was unleashed since then, which is a pity, but still, I would love to see him return to singing as a solo artist, perhaps signing to a different music label, one that supports him a bit more than the indie music label he was a part of. So I hope that hopefully we get new music from Jin Ogasawara. He has an amazing voice. I like his versatility. He can go from screamo to singing really softly and sexy, and it works on both ends of the spectrum, and I do enjoy that a whole lot, and I would love for him to actually release more music, so I'm expectantly here waiting for him to come back when he feels that it is okay to come back as a solo artist. Hopefully soon, but I believe not in 2025. At least I think that is going to be quite the long hiatus. So thank you very much for your comment. Now we have a suggestion by ML. ML says, quick suggestion because I know this monthly review will be very busy. I just bumped into the Break My Case personal song compilation albums. They are from a mobile game, which I didn't really look into, but the music is really good. Lots of stylish and loungy songs, as well as some rock. Amazing cast too. Some really good voice actors that I don't see singing often, like Shun Fukuyama and Katsuyuki Konishi. Newer names like Chiaki Kobayashi. Extremely underrated names like Kentaro Kumagai and Yuya Hirose. And singers we all know and love like Kisho. I could name them all because I love them all, but they are 21 characters, which is to say 21 songs, so yeah. Just listen to the first song from the first album if you are still not convinced. Spoiler, Makoto Furukawa. ML, you have a way with words and to get me to things by just naming some names. I will have to check this CD. And now, I don't even know what you are talking about, the Break My Case personal song compilation, because I don't know what this is. I'm searching right now. What is this? I really don't know. But let's go to Spotify. And let me check. This is from a game from Koli. I already know what this is. I know. Now I know what it is. I know. I'm going to check this out. Live. Because now I'm curious. Break My Case, you say. Let's see. First... Whoa. I'm seeing it here, Takuya Sato. ML. You are putting me in a rabbit hole. Junta Terashima. This is going to be a problem. I know it. I'm feeling it. This is going to be the very first time that I'm going to review something live in a corner in which I am not supposed to review anything. But you grabbed my attention. Instantly. Since the PC is not collaborating. Let me check. It's jazz music. Disco. Ooh. This is good. Let me tell you that this is the type of jazz song or disco that I would love to see or hear Makoto Furukawa performing as a solo artist. Oof, the guitar solo. I'm going to put a pause in here, but let me tell you, I want to listen to more. And I'm seeing here Katsuki Konishi, who I love a lot. A lot, really. So this is going to be interesting. So ML, thank you very much for making me find another project to, or at least another set of songs to listen to. Not necessarily because the project, I don't even know the project itself. I know that it is a game by Collie. But yeah, thank you very much for actually suggesting this, and you got me with Makoto Furukawa. It's really easy to get me whenever you mention that name. I start smiling or grinning like a schoolgirl in love. It's ridiculous. I really love his voice. It is unreal. So thank you very much for the suggestion, and I'm going to listen to the rest of the song. I paused after the guitar solo. So thank you very much for your suggestion. This one actually caught my attention quite a lot, and especially because I'm seeing in the second CD Takuya Sato, and Yuki Ono. Oof. And there's a third one with Jun Fukuyama, Matsuoka Yoshitsugu. This is going to be quite an interesting listen. I will have to dive a little bit into these because these CDs, Break My Case personal song compilations, are amazing. From what I gather, if the quality is the same thing as this one, Believe in Yourself, performed by Makoto Furukawa, this is going to be amazing. So thank you very much for your suggestion. This is all about your suggestions. Thank you very much to everyone who participated. Apologies because not all suggestions can be featured in this episode. This episode is sponsored by all the Hand That Feeds HQ's patrons on Patreon. A big thank you for the support. And now, it's time for Ask Vanessa, the corner in which I basically ask you to leave me questions. I will answer those, or if you don't talk about those, or don't leave me any types of questions, this is the Soma Saito corner. Otherwise, it will become a sort of Makoto Furukawa corner or anything else. So yeah, this time around, in the 2 months, we have one question. And this question by Ao is a really interesting one because it touches upon intellectual property and law. And this is something that I'm a bit of an expert at because I'm a law graduate and I really was fascinated with intellectual property. And even as when I was creating and composing my music, I was worried about intellectual property, so I studied a lot about it even before I had a degree in law. So let's dive into that a little bit. Ao says, obligatory question of someone interested in the intellectual property laws. Do you know how the agreements are reached for re-releases of covers or of the already produced songs? Case in point, some of the songs on Toki's Log album are actually quite recent, for example, Cry Baby. Yet it seems the original singers were fine with allowing it to get covered and then sold by another artist. I assume they do get some share of the profit, obviously, but still, how one even starts to plan a release of the song covers album? Well, there's a bit of logistics when it comes to a covers album for the very reason that you mentioned, because you need to contact the artists, the original artists or the original lyricists in terms of if the artist is no longer alive, you need to at least contact someone related to that person, or at least the lyricist and the composer. So This is usually something that the music label will do for you, the artist. Let's assume that you are an artist at Pony Canyon as well. You are sharing the label with Shunichi Toki, so you will be seeing him. But imagine that you are working as an artist for Pony Canyon, and you want to actually do a covers album of some songs by some male seiyuu that have been signed to Pony Canyon in the past couple of years. We are talking about Jun Fukuyama, we are talking about Shunichi Toki, we are talking about many other artists. And in this case, you will approach the management at the music label that you are from, and you will actually say, I'm thinking about creating a covers album, and I would love to have these specific songs in this album, because you need to talk about the specific songs, because each song has different rights, and each song you need to contact different people. Imagine, for example, there are pop artists out there that have a song that has 10 or 15 people that helped writing the lyrics. Imagine if you want to create a cover of that song, you need to contact that many people to actually get a yes. And if one of those says a no, you can no longer actually pursue that song to have as a cover in your album. So that's a bit messed up. But you need to pay that into attention, that you need to actually come forward, tell the music label that you want to create a covers album. The music label will actually say, you know that you won't be getting much money from this CD because you will be paying royalties because you are using the songs, and you need as well to talk with the artists and strike a deal with them to feature the songs in your CD, because they can say no, and they can also say, I will let you use the song for a specific amount of money, and still you will pay that specific amount of money, and then you will also pay me the royalties. So every time this cover of this song that is mine is performed or played at a karaoke, or is performed or is played at a music store, or is played at one of your live shows or a radio show, you will be paying me royalties. So that's two things that they have to pay to the original artist, the composer, the lyricist, and everything else, and everyone else that is in the credits of that song. Usually it's that level of artist or the performer and the lyricist and the composer that they will be getting royalties over time, and especially every time the song is performed. But you need to actually strike a deal. Usually music labels have contacts between each other, and they will facilitate that to happen. Sometimes there are music labels that will oppose to that. Some that may be rivals, they don't want to work together, they may have a really bad track record together, and they don't want to collaborate in any capacity. But usually music labels are quite responsive to that. They want to actually have their artists getting more exposure, and if someone from a different label comes to them and wants to cover their song, and that through that way the music label gets money, the artist gets money, and you get to put a spotlight in an artist without the artist making any effort, they actually welcome that. So music labels, for starters, won't oppose to that unless they have a really weird relationship with the music label that is approaching them. It may happen, there are some cases, but usually that is not as common. So you would do that, you would create that list of songs that you want to cover, approach your music label and say, I want to cover these songs in a specific CD release. Then the music label would arrange to talk with the music labels from which those artists are a part of, or were represented by in the past, in case they are no longer active or they have changed music labels, and their catalog still remains with the original music label. Do have something into attention when an artist creates music, even if they are the singer-songwriter for their music, unless they have the money to do so, the music is never theirs. It's usually the music labels. So imagine everything that Shunichi Toki is singing, when he leaves the music label, the songs still belong to Pony Canyon. When he stops being a solo artist, the music still belongs to Pony Canyon. He gets royalties, but he's not the owner of the catalog, so he can't basically pick the songs up and sell those to a different music label to earn more money. That's a big problem. Usually you need to have a lot of money to purchase back the rights to your songs, which is something that I'm not going to dive into a lot of detail because it is really controversial, it is really complex, and it's a pain in the rear to explain how you actually are the person that... You can be the person that writes the lyrics, composes the song, performs all the instruments, records everything, and the music will still belong to the music label. You are not the owner of the songs. You are the composer, you are the artist, you are the singer-songwriter, but by the end of the day, you have struck a deal with the music label, and that deal says that the music that you compose and that you deliver, or basically that you publish with that music label, belongs to that music label. There may be some things in the contract saying that maybe you can purchase back your backlog for a specific amount of money to be determined, or a specific amount of money determined by right now when you are signing the contract. And it usually, when the money is determined in the contract when you sign it, it's a ridiculously high fee on purpose for you to not get the catalog to yourself, because otherwise a music label would be doing charity by bringing the artists, helping them releasing the music, getting some royalties, and then when the artist leaves, the artist takes his back catalog with them. So music labels are businesses, and they usually organize things in the way that the music that the artist creates usually belongs to the music label, not the artist. That's why from time to time you actually see on the news artists, really super popular pop artists, actually bought their back catalog and now sold it to a different music label. That's because they had to work hard, earn a lot of money to actually go back and purchase the catalog that they had at a different music label they belonged to in the past, for example, so that they could re-release the music now. Because it's really controversial when within a music label you want to actually re-release something that you released in the past. We are talking about your own catalog. If you want to actually re-release it, if you are within the music label, it's no problem. If you already left that music label, you will have hell on earth to actually try to make that happen. So that's a massive problem when it comes to rights to your music, and how music labels usually handle that. So that's tricky. I can talk about that on an episode of the podcast if you want to. If you actually feel it is quite interesting to dive deeper into, I could dive deeper into. I do have that knowledge quite extensively in some way, because some of the artists that I follow had those specific problems with their back catalog, and they had to go through hell and back to actually get their catalog back. So yeah, I could dive into that, but I'm not going to dive into that. Back into the main topic, because I went on a long tangent about rights to your own songs. When it comes to rights to songs that belong to other people, you actually talked with the music label. The music label will talk with the music labels that basically represent the artists that you want to actually bring those cover songs or to create those cover songs, and they will mediate that between them. You won't need to do much else besides that, basically. Approaching the music label will approach the other music labels. You will have intuition that you have to give full credit to the artist, the original ones, and sometimes you will have some guidelines about what you can or cannot change when you are creating the cover song. So that's also something that can appear or happen, not that common, but some artists may be a bit picky and they may say you cannot touch the chorus, or you cannot touch the outro, or you cannot change the guitar solo. They can basically dictate how you will do things if they feel like it, but for starters they won't say too much because they want someone to cover the song to begin with. They don't care much about that, but still there are some picky artists that will lay some guidelines about what you can cover and how you can cover. So that's how you would actually work that out. After basically the music labels talk with each other, we may get the call to actually approach directly the artist. So Maybe because it is Japan, you will have some courtesy in some way, and you will have, as an artist, to go to the other artist directly, to talk to them face to face and ask for their blessing to cover their song or whatever, something like that, which is a bit more ceremonial, more so than business-like. So when you have that and you have the songs with you, you can already cover the songs. You will have a contract for each of the songs, especially if the songs are all from the same music label. They may create a sort of a package with a lower price because you brought or you chose a lot of songs from that music label. But if it is from different musical labels, you will have a different contract for each song that you are covering, setting the rights and setting everything about the guidelines that you need to have into attention when you are covering the song, or that you need to have into attention when it comes to the rights. So that's what basically happens in here. You need to organize that internally. The music labels will get in touch. You may have to get in touch directly with the artist when you have the okay from the music labels, and then you can record the songs after signing the contracts and laying down the details about the rights and the royalties. So that's basically that. And then when you are basically creating the packaging, you need to have into attention the packaging cannot even be remotely close in aspect to the original songs or the packaging of the original songs, because otherwise you need to also pay for those rights as well, which is a pain in the rear again. There's a whole level of layers in here when it comes to the rights and when it comes to asking for the songs to be covered. But usually music labels don't pose a big challenge because they want their artists to be promoted, so they won't say, no, I don't want the songs to be covered. They will usually say they are okay with that, unless they know that the artist covering the songs doesn't know how to sing and they will butcher the original song. Or they are not on good terms with the music label from the artist that is trying to cover their songs. Or if there are some sort of problems when they are laying down the details of the contract and they come to the conclusion that they won't ever be on the same page when it comes to how much they have to pay and how much they have to earn. So those things can happen. They are not as common, but they can happen, and as someone working in that field, you usually have to pay attention to that. But imagining that you are the artist, the only thing that you need to do is that list of songs that you want to cover, talk with your music label, the music label will get in touch. Then they may say that you need to actually contact directly then the artist because you have the okay from the music label, but you need to ask for the blessing to use the song, and then you need to head to the studio, and then you can record the songs. You can give your own unique flair to the songs. Maybe you need to hire someone, a trained lyricist or even the producer for the CD, and ask them for a direction towards a specific way, or you can add your input about how you want to sing these songs in your own style and how that style would be, and do a little trial for them to get the feel of the song, because they will have the rearrangements of the instrumentals created around what you are thinking about doing in the covers. In this way you start in a different format from usual, because the artist usually gets into the studio with the songs already composed. In this case you are the artist covering songs. The songs already exist, but you need to actually give pointers to the producers and to the composers to see how you are going to recreate basically the song or add your own flair, and they need to actually have that into account. So you actually arrive at the studio with your own idea, they take your idea, they change the original song to your idea, and then they bring it back and then you record it, which is different from the usual idea of the songs are already created, the lyrics are already written, and the compositions are already composed, so you are ready to go to the booth and record. In this case there's an extra step. The songs need to go back to be recreated basically, and then they come to you with the recreated or the rearrangement for you to actually perform, which is quite interesting. So I hope this answers your question. I tried to go as in depth as possible, but still I feel that this deserved a full-on episode about it because it's quite controversial and complex to dive into, especially the part in which you, the artist, don't own the music that you create, which is something that is really tricky and can pose a lot of problems in the future for some artists, especially the seiyuu, the male seiyuu artists that we love. I know for sure that none of them has the rights to their back catalog. For sure, none of them has, because they need to be multi-millionaires to actually have the money to have the rights for their music, and most of the seiyuu are not. So that's a big problem for them, unless they have a specific thing in their contract saying that the music belongs to them. And I believe no seiyuu artist out there has that power to actually put that into a contract and have the contract being approved by a music label. They would completely oppose to that immediately. So I think that some of our favorite male seiyuu artists, I'm thinking about Soma Saito because he actually writes the lyrics, composes the songs, now performs guitar in his own songs, in case you haven't noticed. In Hammer Girl and Sway, he is performing his own guitar. So he also provided music to the song, besides the demos. So he does everything, but the music belongs to Sakura Music. In this case, belongs to Sony Music. So when he stops being a solo artist, the music belongs to them. So that's a problem. So this is basically all I had to say about rights when it comes to the music. I hope it was interesting to you. And if you actually want me to dive a bit deeper into this, let me know. Although we are going to start with the episodes of the podcast fully focused on the end of the year features, and only in late January can I start talking about different topics. Let me know, because I can create an episode about that and dive a bit deeper into that complex part of rights, and especially music rights when it comes to artists, solo artists or bands or whatever. So let me know, and we'll talk about that if you want to. So thank you very much for participating. Our amazing question. This is a really technical one. Usually people don't ask these types of technical questions because this involves law. It can get a bit boring. For some people it's not that interesting. So it was quite refreshing to get a question like this about something that I actually know and I like a lot to talk about. I could stay here all night talking about this, and it wouldn't still be enough to cover this topic. Thank you very much for watching this episode. It's been a while, but I'm back to creating content a bit more regularly, and these episodes that were a bit late to the party are going to actually arrive. I still have the October episode to wrap up, so do not worry. And when this episode drops, I'm already recording the episodes of the monthly review series. Thanks very much as well to everyone for participating in the series. It's the very first time that we go to the 100 songs suggested. I was not expecting this. I was expecting at least 24 songs and I would have to basically choose everyone. But this time around I have so many songs to choose from that I really am excited to see what you actually suggested. So I'm quite excited about that. So yeah, to sum it all up, thank you very much for watching this episode. Thanks to everyone for participating. If you want to participate in another episode of Monthly Review, pay attention to the community tab in this channel. That's where I usually share the form or the survey for you to participate. You can actually suggest things and participate as you actually come across the music. So yeah, thank you very much for watching this episode. I hope you enjoyed this one, and I hope you are excited for the October episode that will drop in a couple of days' time. So thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you guys soon.